Next up is the Open Impacts team. We'll do Open Impacts and then Evolving Open 2, and then I think we'll take a 15-minute break a little bit early. That would be our halfway point in the presentations. So we might run a little bit longer overall, but that's fine.
They're going to be short. Is this one? Is this the one?
Connector for you? You want to,
No, it's up there, so it's fine.
Okay.
I can
use this.
Oh, okay. I can multitask. Introduce yourself. Yep.
Hi, I'm Jack Schultz. I'm director of the Christopher Bond Life Sciences Center at the University of Missouri. It says it's on. You just need to talk to How's that? Yeah. Okay, I'm Jack Schultz. I'm director of the Christopher Bond Life Sciences Center at the University of Missouri. Use that name. And I'm an author, researcher. I really like the attention that was paid to authors' concerns a little while ago, but that's my interest here.
Good morning, I'm Christopher Thomas. I'm the administrator of the Defense Technical Information Center.
I'm Natalia Manolat, Director of OpenAir, a European open access infrastructure.
Good morning, Jean-Gabriel Banquier, President of BPress.
Neil Thacker from the National Institutes of Health.
I'm Rebecca Kennison from Kane Consultants.
Karen Trainer, University Librarian at Princeton.
Jason Hoyt, CEO and co-founder of PeerJ.
I am not John Doe. I am John Gregory Dove.
Unlike some other groups, we decided that we were going to truncate our presentation, so I'll lean right in. Okay. Better? I'm looking at this table because they're like, get in there. I can use the handheld as so I could just dance back here. What? No, I'm fine. Okay. So we decided rather than expanding our presentation, we were actually going to focus more tightly. So some of these things that you got to see yesterday, we've taken out all of our challenges, not because we solved them, but because we thought they were very well recognized, and have focused instead on recommendations. So I can't get my own thing to go forward. That's bad. Hold on one second. There we go. So our group objective, just to recap that, is looking to fill the gaps to demonstrate the net benefits of openness to everybody that we can possibly think of, and how could we do that? And so that's what we were looking to do, was showing net benefits because we are open impacts. And we looked at three areas: how open is the scholarship, and is there a way to be able to measure what that openness is? How, what, who would we look at, use, what kinds of metrics are available, what would we need to have available in order to look at how open the impacts are and what is happening in terms of impacts. And finally, what are the financial impacts of openness? And so we proposed an openness score. One of the pieces of feedback that we got yesterday was come up with a different kind of phrase. But if any of you have done some kind of branding exercises, you'll understand why in our hour and a half that we had together afterwards, we chose not to brand this. If any of you want to come forward with a great branding idea on the openness score, have at it. And what we did stick with was we wanted to measure both quantity and quality across every kind of research product. So not just books and journals and articles and and so on, but every possible output. How open is it? And are there ways then, once you knew what that score was, that you might be able to now, if you wanted to raise your score, raise it up. I suppose if you wanted to lower your score, you could figure out how to do that too. I want to be more and more closed would also be an option, but we didn't really discuss that in our group. So, our recommendation on the openness score is, well, let's develop it. So we were thinking about how to do that, and there are any number of mechanisms that we could use, but we thought convening a summit of international stakeholders, primarily those that are already collecting and aggregating data, to develop this score for all research products would be a very good start. And that summit would focus on establishing how to get the score, what the score should be, looking very internationally about how that might apply, not just within a certain region of the world, but everywhere, and also to establish what the cost and sustainability plan might be. Come up with this score, but now who's going to oversee it? Who's going to promote it? How will it be modified to acknowledge changes in the future, and so on. And finally, this group would create the technical plan for how the score would be collected and managed. And we thought perhaps this might be a role that OSI might want to undertake. In measuring utilization, we had measures that we were looking at, use and reuse primarily, the traditional ones that people have used already in terms of what we can measure so that we know that things are being used and reused, but going beyond that and looking at some different things. So not just alternative metrics and citations in the media, but also what about crowdsourcing, crowdfunding? Where's it following crowd money would be an interesting thing to do. And so our recommendations there, again, we're all about establishing groups to talk about more things to do. So the establishing working group through standards bodies or bodies, any number of them around the world that can operate collectively. Here in the United States, we were thinking about NISO, but elsewhere as well, and propose standard recommendations for an international usage metric that could be adopted by the community at large. So that includes published material coming from publishers, but also content in a variety of repositories, just by way of example. And finally, we were looking at measuring economic impact. And you'll notice that what we're doing here, we're going from something that's very concrete that we think could be really implemented in not too difficult a manner, that openness score, to measuring the economic impact of everything. And I really appreciated the participation group in highlighting all the different stakeholders and what we do know and what we don't know, and really understanding that we have the same interest here, which is that right now, even the term economic impact is too broad to address what we even need to know in individual studies. So we need to understand what we even mean by the economic impact of openness. And we also lack consensus on the metrics to influence policy decisions. You've heard people introduce themselves here. We had the delightful pleasure of having 3 federal agencies represented on our group that really are looking at doing the OSTP, implementation of the OSTP memo. And so how do we even know what's going on in order to, are these policies having any impact on any real measurable impact on publishers? It's not something that we felt we could even start to identify that. So our recommendations here would be that the OSI would establish a research agenda for open scholarship, that future meetings could really focus on a research program that would look at economic impact of open scholarship, and that there could be a lot more of a almost think tank atmosphere, which we've had here as well, but with a focus on that and looking at the economics, and then gathering an inclusive group to define reasonable metrics for the publishing industry to identify the impacts of these open access policies wherever they are in the world. And again, the OSTP one just as an example here. And so finally, we wanted to end with, because we're not enough kittens, that we felt to reduce the stress that might be in the room from all of you wondering how you would fall on the openness scale, that please get your data out and remember Open Impact Cat is watching.